I have recently been through an amazing experience that brought me great joy. Sharing it with you on these pages has added greatly to my overall happiness. So, a big thank you for reading it. This story is an allegory. It uses a debate among several characters to probe philosophies and attitudes. Though I use the first person, bear in mind that it is not me, the author, speaking. I am simply a tool to further the story. It is set in the fictional kingdom of Eudemonia, a term from Aristotelian ethics that means happiness or human flourishing. My story starts in ancient history, and it does not end at the moment when you are reading the last words. In fact, this story has no ending at all. You might be wondering who I am. Well, I am just an ordinary yet unique person like you. I'm neither a teacher nor a preacher. Very, very far from that. I have nothing to prescribe to you or to anyone else. However, I'm definitely capable of sharing moments of comfort with you. I wish you to experience joy while reading it. In the year 334 BC, Alexander the Great had been a king of Greece for 2 years and had just set out to execute his father's plans to expand the Greek Empire towards the east. Alexander called on his childhood mentor Aristotle to ride next to him during his first campaign. As they marched towards the northeast, Alexander's general Antigonus stumbled across a group of people, led by a man called Cosmo, who appeared more sophisticated, civilized and, most importantly, more joyous than the average Greek. When Antigonus asked them where they originated from, they responded that they were from a tiny kingdom called Eudemonia. Antigonus invited them to meet Alexander and Aristotle. Alexander was intrigued by their serenity, joy, and constant smiles. He dispatched a committee of Greeks to Eudemonia to check the mood of the Eudemonians and report back to him. To Alexander's surprise, his expedition came back to tell him that almost all Eudemonians that they met were in a similar joyous mood. Alexander decided to invade Eudemonia to unveil the secret of their happiness and bring it back to the Greeks. Aristotle objected to Alexander's invasion plans, stating that military might, war, and humiliation would erode the Eudemonians' happiness, and Alexander would thus be unable to achieve his goal of bringing back the secret of happiness to the Greeks. Aristotle suggested that he would go and live for 1 year in Eudemonia in the house of Cosmo to understand the secret of their happiness. In return for their cooperation, Alexander would promise to provide protection to Eudemonia and not invade. Alexander accepted Aristotle's proposal. After 1 year residing at Cosmo's house, Aristotle came back with great knowledge about the secrets of happiness, which were adopted by Alexander to keep his army happy during his conquests. This contributed to the fact that Alexander was never defeated in battle. Alexander kept his promise and did not invade Eudemonia. Eudemonia maintained its independence since the time of Alexander until modern times. For more than 24 centuries, Eudemonia was at the forefront of cultural, artistic, political, technological, and environmental achievements. It was a very prosperous and peaceful country. According to United Nations indicators, Eudemonia ranked among the top 10 nations in gross national product per capita, life expectancy, respect of human rights, and good governance. For 150 years, Eudemonia was democratically governed by 2 political parties, the right wing and the left wing, that alternated power through transparent and fair elections. But over the last 6 decades, Eudemonians lost much of the joy of living that they inherited from their ancient ancestors. As a result, the birth rate steadily declined, and demographic forecasts warned that Eudemonia could face extinction in the next 30 years. To address this threat, the right-wing and left-wing parties jointly proposed to Eudemonia's large neighbor Hamnesia to give up Eudemonia's independence in exchange for 500,000 young people to settle in Eudemonia. Under the agreement, Eudemonia would retain significant autonomy for local affairs. The parties decided to call a referendum, letting Eudemonians vote for or against the agreement. Meanwhile, Eudemonians elected an independent president for the first time. President Sarah, a social worker, promised to restore happiness and preserve Eudemonia's sovereignty. She had 10 days to rediscover the secrets of ancient Eudemonian happiness before the referendum. On the eve of the referendum, Sarah planned a televised speech to reveal those secrets and persuade Eudemonians to reject the merger with Hamnesia. Around this time, Adam, a professor in the history of philosophy and one of Sarah's friends, discovered a manuscript. It stated that a few people in every generation, when they reach the age of 42, will lead a life journey that would point them to the same secrets of happiness known by the ancient Eudemonians. The manuscript contained a formula that would give hints about the exact birth time and location of those individuals. Out of the blue, Adam contacted me and told me that according to the manuscript my life journey was supposed to lead me to the same understanding of happiness as the ancient Eudemonians. Adam asked me to visit Eudemonia to share with him and Sarah the learning about happiness that my journey taught me. At first I thought it was some kind of a joke. After doing some research about Eudemonia, I still did not believe his story, yet it intrigued me enough that I wanted to learn more, so I decided to accept his invitation. When I reached Eudemonia, I was amazed by the natural beauty of this country. Eudemonians were very organized, hardworking, and friendly. At first glance I could not notice any signs of sadness in them. Adam took me straight from the airport to Sarah. They both re-explained to me their theory that, according to the decoding of the ancient manuscript, I was one of the persons of this generation whose life journey was supposed to point to the same understanding as the ancient Eudemonians, and they asked me to tell them my story and my current perspective about life and happiness. I accepted their request, and so we engaged in the following conversation.